everyone, so this is a bit of a close-up situation that we have going on right now, but today I'm going to be doing a bit of a makeup look for you, and I get asked all the time to do tutorials and things, but I never really know what exactly to do. I don't really have anything special to show you, so I thought I would just do a kind of get ready with me daily face type thing and show you some of the makeup that I've been using quite a lot at the moment. So I'm just sitting here at my dressing table and I don't really have a plan. I definitely know I want to use the Bobbi Brown Skin Foundation, and I'm probably going to be using quite a few of the things I talked about in my last favourites video, so you'll see them all in action. But this is just my absolute favourite at the moment, and it's only Friday, a pretty standard Friday, but I definitely feel like a bit of a bold lip, so I think I'm going to crack out the Kevyn Aucoin lipstick in Forever, and as I said before, this is just the most beautiful bright pink lipstick, so I think we're going to go for a bold lip and maybe something quite simple on the eyes. And this is also the first time I'm using my ring light to film a makeup video, so we'll see how that turns out. It feels very bright and intense at the moment, but it should look okay, fingers crossed. So I'm going to start with a primer, and at the moment it is a boiling hot outside. It is so warm and humid, so I definitely need something that's going to make my makeup last that little bit longer. And this one's quite new to me. This is the Max Factor Facefinity All Day Primer, but I've been looking for the kind of perfect primer for such a long time because I like something that is nice and oil absorbing, a little bit mattifying, but that isn't going to completely dry my skin out. So this one feels nice. It's very smooth, but it does feel like slightly mattifying, which is what I'm looking for, so we'll see how it goes. It's nice actually, it feels like it's going to let my skin breathe while it's on there. So I'm going to be using the Louise Young brush with Bobbi Brown foundation, and I just find this is the quickest, simplest way to put on any type of liquid foundation. You literally just need a little bit on the brush and it just does the work for you really. I find that you can't get quite as much as a kind of buffing technique as you can with something like the Real Techniques buffing brush, but I think the quickness just makes up for that, and it is nice. You can really work it into the skin if you take a little bit of extra time. This foundation is just, there are no words to describe it. It's so light and glowy and dewy, and yet it covers really, really well. I think it's definitely one of my all-time favourites. So concealer has definitely been my friend at the moment. I have quite a few blemishes and spots and things going on, and really bad under eye circles at the moment. I always suffer from them quite badly, but at the moment they just seem to be really dark. So I'm going to be using my Bobbi Brown Corrector. Can't live without this stuff, although I think I need to buy a new one because it's falling apart. I've hit pan on it, there's barely any left, but I'm still scraping out the edges. So I'm just going to put a tiny dab of that under my eyes and just press it in. And I try to keep it on kind of like the inner half of my eye, because I find if I take it out any further it kind of sits in the creases quite badly, so I just keep it up here. And then of course Origin's Plantscription concealer. I really don't think I will ever find an under eye concealer that I love as much as this one. I've tried so many different ones and some of them have come close, but this is just the absolute best. And I always like to buff it in with, I think this is a contour brush from Real Techniques, and I just find it kind of gives a nice airbrush finish underneath, and it really blends the concealer in with the foundation quite well. So for something a little bit more heavy duty, I'm going to use the Mercier Secret Camouflage to cover up any blemishes and things, because I find this stuff is just super pigmented. And when I used this last time in a video, I actually asked you how you used it because I never really knew how to mix the two together best. So what I actually do is just take a little bit on each finger like that, and then I put it on the back of my hand and then use a brush in there. So I've just found that's the easiest way to do it without kind of dipping the brush in each one and getting them all mixed up. So then I'm just going to press that in and attempt to cover up this really bad spot on my chin. And then sometimes I'll go in with an even smaller brush just to kind of get rid of it. I wouldn't normally go into this much detail with concealing, but as I'm wearing a bold lip, I think it just looks a lot better if the skin's as flawless as possible. So I'm going to set that all down with some of the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Dim Light, and nothing new here, this is what I always do. I just think it's the nicest setting powder. And I'm also going to put a tiny little bit of MAC Studio Fix powder, which is something quite new to me as well, but I find it's really good at absorbing shine, so I'm just going to put it literally there and there, which is the place I tend to get the most shiny. So now this is where things get slightly more complicated because I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I definitely want to put some bronzer on, and I think it's either going to be Benefit's Hoola, which I did mention in my favourites video. I have been loving this at the moment, or I do have this here, which is the Body Shop's Honey Bronzer, and I haven't actually used it before, but Estée of Estée Button really loves this, so I thought I would give it a try, and I think I'm going to use this one. So it's a really, really light toned bronzer. It's not, well, it is quite dark compared to my skin, but it's not as dark as some normal bronzers, so it should just give a nice light colour. It's nice actually, it's quite sheer, so it's very buildable. I think it's nice when you get a sheer bronzer because there's no risk really of putting too much on and then having to take it all off again. It's nice actually, it's subtle, but it still gives me quite a lot of warmth, and I could definitely build that up more, I feel like. So yeah, the Body Shop Honey Bronzer, I really like that. I was going to do a little bit of contouring with the Kevyn sculpting powder, but I think we'll just leave it at that because I'm still yet to master contouring completely, and it just could all go horribly wrong. So moving on to blusher, and I've not really been that into pinky blushes. It's been more warm toned ones that I've been using, and I really want to get the Tarte Exposed, I think that's what it's called, which is their kind of more warm toned brown bronzy blusher. So that's for another Sephora order, but this is one that I've been using quite a lot, and I don't think they even make this anymore. This is the Sleek Nude Collection blush in Suede, and they may have something similar, but it's a really kind of reddy toned, almost peachy orange blusher, and it actually reminds me a bit of Benefit's Dallas, which I also have here, which is another one of my favourites. This is slightly darker, but I really like these kind of reddy bronzy shades on me. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that on there, and when I'm doing a bold lip as well, I do like to keep it a bit more simple on the cheeks, just so that it's not too overpowering. And then the highlighter that I've really been enjoying using recently is the Soap & Glory's Peach Party, and at first this looks almost like a bronzer. It's got some really dark shades in there, but it actually just comes out as a really nice kind of shimmery gold highlight. So I'm going to use that on sort of just the tops of my cheekbones and a little bit down the nose. I find this Zoeva brush, which is the 127 Luxe Shade Cheek Brush, is so useful. You can do so many different things with it. It's good for contouring, it's a blush, for highlight. It's a really nice brush. And I definitely like to pack on my highlighter, as we probably all know. So last time I did a makeup video, I think I used the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade for my brows, which I was just raving on and on about, but I think I may have found something even better. And it's a very similar product. It's the Tarte's Amazonian Clay Waterproof Brow Mousse, and it's just the same, a kind of gel liner for your brows, but it's slightly dry in texture, so I find you get a bit more workability with it, whereas the Anastasia one's just a little bit too slippery, so this one I really, really like at the moment. I also really like the brush that comes with this. It's just a very standard angle brush with a spoolie on the end, but I find the actual angle of it is really great for brows. If I show you it compared to something like a MAC 266, the angle on this is a lot steeper, whereas this one's more of a flat angle. Is that the right word to say? But it's a really nice brush. So I actually kind of start on the arch and really kind of map that out, and I do have quite naturally flat brows, so I like to kind of build my arch up a bit more. And then I just fill in the front part of my brow with whatever's left on the brush. What a difference brow products make. I had a bit of a tweezing issue with this brow, so it's looking a little bit smaller than usual. I'm not sure what went on there, but I kind of have some kind of gaps and some sparseness, but I find this just covers them up really well because it's really nicely pigmented. So for eyes, I've been really into these number 7 Shade and Define sticks, and they're so handy to use, and they're really nice colours, really well pigmented pencils, so I'm going to use a couple of them today. This shade is Cool Mink, and I really like to take this one all over the lid as a kind of base. So I literally just draw it all over and then kind of pat it with my fingers. And they blend really easily, and yet once they set, They really do not budge. And I think these are so similar to the By Terry Ombre Black Stars and probably about a quarter of the price, so they're definitely worth looking into if you're kind of wanting to try something like a cream stick. Okay, so before I go on to the next colour, I'm actually going to take a little bit of the bronzer. Where's it gone? Here it is, the Body Shop bronzer that I used, and put a tiny bit of it in the crease of my eye just to warm things up slightly and give a little bit of definition. I really like using bronzer as eyeshadow sometimes. Just sort of warms everything up slightly and just adds a bit of definition to my eyes. And then I might put just a little bit of that underneath as well. Okay, so I'm going to use the shade Coffee Bean, which is a really lovely, rich, dark, chocolatey brown, and I'm going to use it as an eyeliner. So I'm just going to put that all along my lashes. And then I sometimes like to sort of smudge it in with a little pencil brush, just to soften everything up a little bit. And then kind of go back in and pack in the colour. And I might just wing that out slightly, so I'm going to put a little bit on that MAC angled brush and just kind of pop in a little bit of a wing. But it still keeps it quite soft and quite kind of smoky rather than a really intense line. I think this brown pencil I've probably used every single day since I got it. I just love it that much. And it's just such a good price. I think they're about £8. Amazing. Okay, so it's kind of a soft, smoky take on a winged liner, which I've been kind of into at the moment, and I'm going to put a little bit of that on my bottom lashes as well, just to define them slightly. And then they also have a really pretty gold shade. This is the colour Glistening Ray, and I'm going to use that as an inner eye highlight. So I've got quite a few mascaras here. I'm not sure which one to use. There's been loads that I'm really into at the moment. So I've got the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes that I really like, my good old faithful L'Oreal Miss Manga, and I've actually been really enjoying using the Makeup Forever Smoky Lash, even though I kind of slated this one slightly in my Sephora haul, but I think I'm going to use this one today. And I'm just going to curl my lashes first actually. I did talk about this a bit in my favourites video, but I think the key to this mascara is definitely letting it dry out a little bit. I used it when I first got it and it was just a bit too wet, I think, so I kind of let it sit for a bit, maybe a couple of weeks, and it just is perfect at the moment, so we'll see how long that actually lasts. I think I'm also going to put that on my bottom lashes too, because I would normally use a separate mascara, but I just kind of want to see how well it lasts. So on to the main event, the reason we're all here, the Kevyn Aucoin lipstick. There are just no words to describe how in love with this I am. It's just the best lipstick formula I've ever come across, and it's the most beautiful shade. So I'm actually going to use a little bit of a lip liner beforehand. Not that it really needs it, it has amazing lasting power on its own, but I kind of want to trace out my lips a little bit better. So they're a bit wonky, a bit uneven. I kind of just like to neaten them up slightly, and for that I'm going to use the MAC's lip pencil in Embrace Me, and this is not the perfect match for it, but it's a nice bright pink as well. And if I am using a lip liner, I always take it across the whole lip, just that it doesn't fade and leave a really dark line around the outside. I actually think the MAC pencil on its own is really nice as well, but on we go with the lipstick. It's just so creamy and so moisturising, and yet stays really nice and matte. It's just amazing. So that is my makeup done. It's kind of like an everyday bold lip. This is usually the kind of makeup that I would pair with a brighter lipstick. So I hope you enjoyed watching this slightly more spontaneous get rid of me type tutorial, and let me know if you'd like to see any more of these or maybe something slightly different, and I will see you all soon.